Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. I'll be sharing my screen, so let me know once you can see that. Also, can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me or am I visible? Okay, and can you see the screen? Can anyone confirm if the screen is visible? Yes, all right, so I'll start. All right, thank you for joining in and welcome everyone to the Business and Technology Orientation. So firstly, let's just start by understanding what the business and technology exam or the paper is all about. Now, business and technology, this is one of the first papers, like there's even though no sequence, but usually students begin with this exam. And it is a fairly simpler exam, I would say. It is purely theoretical, no practical questions as such. And if you have already in your 11th and 12th class studied business studies and economics, then you'll find it fairly even easier because this is just an amalgamation of that. Even though the economics also part is not that vast, there's just few areas that we touch upon on both micro and macroeconomics, the usual demand, supply and all of that, but nothing too much in detail as we had studied in our 11th, 12th economics. And the business studies which we had studied, it's the same thing which we'll be studying here. Of course, a little bit difference, like few more theories probably you'll learn about, but in general it's all of that. Your what is exactly business, what is organizations, what are the types of businesses, what is management, how does leaders work, what are the various theories that are there. And of course, a little bit of technology is also added, since the name is business and technology, a little bit of aspect of technology, that how technology these days impact the businesses, because this is relevant, right? These days, technology, of course, impacts various businesses. It could be anything, any organization, but it has an impact. So how does it impact? And all of that is something which we will be studying in this particular exam. So business and technology teaches you how businesses basically operate, how do they operate effectively, efficiently, and also ethically. Ethics is also a part of the syllabus area. As accountants, it is important that we know and understand about the concept of ethics. ACCA itself has its code of ethics, which is something you will be studying in this chapter as well. So ethics is of course stressed upon. You'll understand how exactly your finance professionals play an important role in achieving all of this. So you'll basically understand business in its context of the environment in which the business is operating, right? So business is operating, but there are things around it, right? The external environment, how does that impact? Whether it's your legal environment or your political environment or your social environment. So all of that is something we will be studying in this subject. And of course, the various governance, employment, health, safety, data protection, data security, all of these issues, topics are something covered in parts, like not too much detail, but of course, in brief, like you would know everything here and there. So let's have a look at the syllabus area. The syllabus is not very vast and it's not very small also. I would say it's a good syllabus, like everything is covered, but at the same time, they have not gone too much in detail or depth, but everything is covered. And business and technology is something, whatever you study here, when you reach your professional level and when you study your SBL, that is your strategic business leader, you will see that many concepts which you had studied back in your business and technology are also cropping up in your SBL. So this is something, your business and technology is something also coming into your SBL when you in the future you'll be reaching a professional level. Obviously in SBL, there will be many other concepts and the focus is more on leadership. But there are, of course, few concepts, whether it's your management concepts, leadership concepts. This is something that you have also studied. A few concepts from here are going in the SBL also. So let's have a look at the syllabus area. So there are these 6 syllabus areas and we'll be looking each one in detail. So the first syllabus area is your business organization and the organization structure. So first part, you are understanding what exactly is an organization, what type of an organization are there, What can be constituted as an organization? You'll of course then also learn about what are the stakeholders. There are internal stakeholders like your employees, directors. There are external stakeholders, like the government, and there are also your connected stakeholders. So this is something you will be learning, that what are the various type of stakeholders, what is an organization. In this, what is an organization, you will of course see that there are profit making organizations like your sole trader, partnership, company. So you learn about each of them. Then in companies, there are two types: private limited company, public limited company. What are those? You learn about that also. Then there are your not for profit making organizations. You will see in that what all categories are there, like your school or any organization which, let's say, the government has set up to help the general public. Then you'll learn about your public sector organization, private sector organization. So this is something which is covered in detail in this particular chapter. Then you move on and you come to the organization structure, that exactly how this entire organization is, like how the work is divided, allocated. What are the various structure? Is it an entrepreneurial structure? Is it a functional structure? Is it a divisional structure, matrix structure? So all these structures are something covered in this particular session, along with their advantages, disadvantages, that what are the advantages of one particular structure over the other. Then moving to the next part would be, you will be covering about your marketing. Now, marketing is something I am sure you would remember. We had also studied this back in our 11th, 12th, when we used to do business studies. So this is something which was covered back then also. So here again, you learn about the 4 P's of marketing, which are your product, price, place, promotion. This is a very, small chapter, not much, just generally about what exactly is marketing. Then you move on and you will be studying about the organization culture. So in this organization culture, firstly we'll try to understand what exactly is when we say culture, that how the things are done in an organization. Basically, what is that organization's values, beliefs, attitude. So that is what you're going to learn here. You'll be also studying about few theories like Sheen's theory, Hofstede's theory, Handy theory. So all of these theories, probably you would have maybe not heard about them before, but something which will be covered in this particular chapter. Then you'll move on and you'll reach your information technology and information system in business chapter. So this is again a very interesting chapter. Here now you're coming more into the technology part. So you're firstly understanding what exactly is data, what is information. So data, we say basically any unprocessed raw material is your data, wherein you just look at it and you can't make any sense of it. But once that data is processed, it becomes information. So we'll learn about the differences between data, information. We'll talk about the various information systems that we have in organizations, like management information system, transaction processing system, decision support systems. So we'll learn about various of all of these systems and also at what level these systems are used. So that is something which is covered in detail in this particular chapter. So this will cover your entire syllabus area A, which was all about your organizations. Here you're just getting introduced to the concept. What is business? What is organization? What are the stakeholders, structure, culture, and all of that. Then you will move on to the external environment and the ethics part. So here, like I said, a business, when it's operating, it is surrounded by its external environment, right? So there are political and legal factors that could affect a business. So we'll understand how these factors affect, whether it's relating to your inflation or taxation. Then you will talk about your economic factors, wherein here we'll study about macro and microeconomics, both, unemployment, demand, supply. So all of that is something covered in this chapter and something which you have already probably studied in your 11th and 12th if you had taken up your economics, if you had done commerce. Then microeconomics, again, same thing. And then moving on to your social, environmental, technological factor and competitive forces. So here you will understand about the various social factors, with regards to your demographic composition, basically the population size and all of that. Environmental factors, that how important it is for the businesses to take responsibility, that they can't just do everything and anything and just get away with it, because they have to consider the environment also, wherein now you will get into the corporate social responsibility or sustainability, that how businesses should work in a way that the environment which they are in, it's sustainable. You'll also learn about the various technological factors that how that impacts your businesses, whether it's talking about your downsizing, delayering, or outsourcing. And finally, of course, the competitive forces, wherein you learn about Porter's 5 forces and few other models like your SWOT analysis, which is your strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. So all of those models are something which are taught in this particular chapter. Then you move further and comes the part of ethics. Now, ethics, like I had mentioned, important, something which is stressed on, and ethics is something which is there in various of your other, subjects also, whether it's your audit or SBL or even in SBR in the future. A little part of ethics is always there. So ethics, you will learn about the various threats like advocacy thread, a familiarity thread, all of that. You'll understand what exactly is the concept of ethics. When we say ethics, it's basically what is right, what is wrong, what are the guiding principles. So here you learn about certain theories like absolutism, relativism, consequentialist theory, which basically says that whether something is right or wrong will actually depend on the consequences or the outcome. So all of this is something covered here. ACCA's code of ethics is also covered in this, wherein the ACCA's code of ethics, which is your integrity, objectivity, professional competence, all of that is something covered here. Here you'll also be learning about that what are the some qualities which are expected of your accountants, your professional qualities and even their personal qualities. All right, then you will move on to the next syllabus area, which is syllabus area C, about your governance and social responsibility. So corporate governance is basically a concept that how these organizations are administered. So you will learn about the various underlying principles of governance and about social responsibility, whether it's your corporate social responsibility or social responsibility in general, wherein the concept of course, sustainability comes in, that whatever organizations are doing, they should always do that in keeping in mind the needs of the future generations, which is all about your sustainability. So not much is there in syllabus area C, only these 2-3 concepts, which are of course important, but only these are covered in this particular section. Then you will move on to syllabus area D, which is your accounting and reporting systems and even your internal financial control. So here you'll understand very briefly what is the role of accounting exactly, what is control, security and audit. So when a company, any company, they have some internal controls in place which are basically there to safeguard the organization, right? So that no fraud happens, and if an error happens, that can be caught on. So what exactly are those control systems? What exactly is an internal control system? All of that is something you will learn here, and a little bit of audit is also introduced, not of course in detail of course, but just in general exactly what is your external audit, internal audit. And then you'll move on to studying about identifying and preventing fraud, that how organizations would identify fraud and what all they do to prevent this fraud. Like they might have internal controls in place or some checks in place. So all of that is something which is covered in this particular syllabus area. Then you move on to the second last syllabus area, which is your E, which is about leading, managing your individuals and teams. So here comes all those management and leadership concept. You'll understand exactly what is leadership, what is management, and what is supervision, how they all are a little bit different from each other. Then you'll learn about this process of recruitment selection. This is also something which 11, 12 business studies, we have studied pretty much in detail about recruitment selection, that how the, organizations, when they start with the recruitment cycle, how exactly they do that. It, of course, in this chapter you will learn about interviews, the various type of interviews that happen, what is the selection process that the organizations have in place when they are recruiting their candidates. So all of that is something covered here, and something which is you're based on your building up on your previous knowledge, something that business studies 11, 12 has already covered. Then you will move on to individuals, groups and motivation. Here you'll see exactly how an individual works, how a group works, and how these either individuals or groups can be motivated. So here also there will be some theories coming in, popping in, wherein which they'll say theory X and Y and many other theories, that exactly how can you motivate those various individuals or groups or employees in general to give their best in any organization. And in the last part of this syllabus area, you will be learning about training and development, something which we have also studied in our business studies, that exactly how important for organization is training their employees, whether they give them on the job training, off the job training, and how training is different from development. Then in development, there are various aspects, like they have your continuous professional development and all of that. So what is all of that? How is that different from training? And on training, why is it important to give training? What are the advantages of promoting your staff and giving them opportunity to train on various things, is something which is covered here. And finally, you move on to the final syllabus area, which is again not too big: personal effectiveness and communication. Here you learn about performance appraisal, that in an organization, when you're working, let's say as an employee in an organization, every organization's employees, their performance is judged, right? Obviously, you set out some targets, you set out some goals, and then you see whether those goals, whether those targets were achieved or not by that particular individual. And on that basis, the companies give them the, depends on the companies, right? If they have rating system, they'll give them rating, or if they have any other system, then that. So performance appraisal, what are the tools of performance appraisal, how they should be conducted, what are the features of a good performance appraisal, all of that something covered here. And finally, personal effectiveness and communication. Here you learn about time management, something which is also important from your exams perspective. So yeah, what exactly is time management, how that is important when you're working in a corporate world, personal effectiveness, what exactly is communication, how do you communicate when there are various types of communication in an organization, whether it's the wheel or the straight line and various other things. So something which will be covered in detail in this chapter. And communication also, a part of it we have already studied in our business studies. So something on those lines only, it's over in business and technology also. All right, so these were the syllabus areas, and each of the sessions which I mentioned, I have explained in brief and also some in detail. Basically, it's all about that. So by now you will understand that yes, it's nothing but just a little aspect of business, little aspect of economics, little aspect of technology. That's all it is all about. Pure theoretical paper. Having said that, when I say it's theoretical, I don't mean that you have to literally do rote learning, that you have to learn anything and then, based on that learning, you'll be able to do that. Because I remember when even I was in 11, 12 business studies, we used to still learn a lot, do rote learning. But here, rote learning will not work. ACCA exams are designed in a way that rote learning is not something is going to take you any further. So you just need to understand a particular concept, and the questions are based around that concept. So you don't really have to learn or, anything as such. Then moving on to the exam structure. This is an on-demand CBE exam. So the date is going to be decided by a particular individual when they want to give the exam. But the exam is for 2 hours only, and the section A and there's section B. So there are 2 sections. First section is your objective, that is your multiple choice question. So you will get 30 questions worth 2 marks, 16 questions worth 1 marks each. So the total becomes your 76 marks. Then you will move on to your section B, which is your multi-task question. Here you're gonna get 6 such questions worth 4 marks each. Now in multitask, it could be anything. You could also get MCQs, you could get a gap filling sort of a question. You could get any sort of a match, you have to match something to some options, that kind of a question. It could be anything. There will be certain tasks. So that's why it's called multitask, but it is on those same lines, nothing too haywire. All right, then moving on to the tips for answering MCQs. Like I said, this is on-demand CBE exam, mostly MCQs, and even in MTQs, they are on the lines of MCQs. So you, of course, need to understand exactly how you should tackle these MCQs. First and foremost is, of course, you need to read the question thoroughly. Many students, they do not read the question. They see the question is a bit longer, maybe 3-4 lines, and they just tend to read it or glance it quickly, and they'll think that, oh, I have answered or I have seen this type of question somewhere, and you do not read the question thoroughly. Or if you're reading the question, you are thinking about something else, either your previous question or something else, and you're not putting in your 100% concentration. And because of that, you are not able to clearly get the requirements that the examiner is basically asking. So that is a classic mistake students do. You need to think before answering. You should not be rushing just by looking at one option. If you feel that, oh, this is the closest, you can't just go ahead and mark that. You need to look at all the options, see what is the requirement, and then choose your answer. So always think before you answer. Do not rush. Nobody's asking you to waste time or minutes and seconds on a question, but just take a moment before you answer. Just before answering, see that, okay, this is what they asked, this is what this answer is meeting the requirement, so this should be my answer. There will be times when none of your options is going to match your answer. When you think something and when you read those options, you are like that that thing is not there in any of the options, which is absolutely fine. Not everyone is going to know 100% of the exams. That will be very rare, that only maybe around the world a very small percentage would probably know everything. Most of the students are not going to know everything, right? Even when you in school, colleges, you give exam, it's not ever that you know 100%. So there will be, of course, few questions which you might not know. For a student it could be 5 questions, for some student it could be 5-6 questions. So it depends on student to students, their practice. But there are going to be questions which you are not super sure of, which is absolutely fine. One does not have to panic at that moment. What you should be doing instead is you should read that question to ensure that you are understanding it, and then try to answer the requirement. Firstly, if you read a question, you are like, okay, I'm not understanding. You take a moment, read it again, and try to understand what exactly are they asking. Then try to eliminate any obvious wrong answers. Sometimes in a questions, there are few options which are given just to, distract. Sometimes if it's a limitations questions, that what are the limitations of a particular thing, so they would give the opposite of it also. So that is like, you would know that this is obviously wrong. So you can eliminate those faster. Then you should, of course, consider whatever remaining options are remaining. Let's say 2 you have narrowed down to. Then from that, you can try to select which could be the right option. But if still you are unsure and you do not want to, waste more time on it, which is absolutely fine. We should not waste more time on a question which we do not know. We should always move on to the next question. So if a question comes which you're unsure about, you look at it, you try to solve it, but let's say you're not able to solve it, you do not waste a single second more. You flag it, you move on to the next question. You keep on doing the questions, and similarly, if another question comes wherein you're facing any trouble, you stop at that question, you flag it, you move on to the next. And at the end, you come back to these unanswered questions and target them with fresh set of eyes. Once you have completed the paper, you're much calmer, you're much more confident. So now you can, give in your 100% concentration, and you are not thinking about other things that, oh, I only have this much time left, everything is left, and the entire paper is left. So now that you have done the paper as per your, whatever you think, how much ever you knew, now, whatever time is left, you should now focus on those questions which you were not able to answer previously. So focus now on those. And in that also, don't just waste time on one question. Quickly move on to the next. If one question is taking a lot of time, just select any option. And the final tip, which is one of the most important, is answer all questions, even if you're unsure of the answer. Yes, there is no negative marking in ACCA exams. It doesn't matter whether your answer was wrong. It will be fine. At least you clicked on something. It could also be right. There are always chances, right? There's a probability. So why not take that chance? Even if you do not know an answer, you tried everything, you tried all the above techniques, then just click on any answer. In the end, when let's say you have done the entire exam and let's say only 5 minutes are left and you have around, let's say 4-5 MCQs remaining, and you are reading it, you're trying to solve it, but clock is ticking, you see the time is passing, you don't have time to read, then at that point also I'll suggest just click on any options, just choose any answers and submit the exam, so that at least they are not going unanswered. There will be a probability that maybe out of those 5, maybe you'll get 1 correct or 2 correct, maybe all wrong, maybe few correct. So that probability is there. So please always make sure you're answering all questions no matter what. So once you're done with your paper, whatever time is left, first try to solve it. But if time is running, you don't have much time, then at least just click on some option. Just click on any answer. It is important that you are attempting entire exam. That is very important. And time management is of course important. It is a theoretical paper. You as such don't have to solve any questions. So you might think that, oh, it might not take so much time, but it is a theoretical paper, right? So there are questions would be little wordier, longer, and options are not going to be also one line. They will be little longer, few questions. So it will take time. So make sure you are planning it in a way that you have in your mind thought about it, that how you're going to go. You're going to take how much time for section A, how much time you're going to take for section B, and you are doing it in that manner. When some time has passed on, you are watching the clock also continuously. Some people are just too much engrossed in the paper and they're not looking at the clock, and then they realize that so much time has passed and they have not even finished up till half of the exam. So don't do that mistake, and that mistake can always and anyways be avoided only if you have practiced enough and you have studied enough. If you have not done that, then there are chances that you will be facing issues with regards to time. So if you have practiced enough, then you know how much time it will take to read a question, to understand the requirements, and then of course you can move faster. So moving on, what should be your approach to preparation? Now, because this is an on-demand exam, what happens is students think that, okay, since I have to choose a date, I'll give at any date, like I'll give 6 weeks from now, 7 weeks from now, and you don't really decide upon a date, and then you just start studying without keeping any target. 2 weeks have passed, you have not really covered much. 3 weeks have passed, you have again not covered much. Then you just, delay your date, that okay, then I'll give in after 2-3 months you add, basically, which is wrong. Just because this is an on-demand exam, a flexibility has been given to you, that doesn't mean you misuse it. Always before starting, you should keep a target. So if you're planning, if you decide that, okay, I have to give business and technology exam, then decide 5 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, or 7 weeks from now, depending upon your other commitments, that okay, I will give this exam. You're the best judge, because maybe you are in school or maybe you're in college, you have your college exams going or the assignments. So you have to see what time period you will be free from your other commitments. Like you might have classes and all, but not too much, like exam is not there, any other major commitment is not there. So firstly, plan it in such a manner, give the exam in a place time when you do not have any other commitments as such, that your energy will be focused only on this exam. So decide that particular time and then plan accordingly. So if you decide today that, okay, I have to give in 7 weeks from now or 6 weeks from now, so you see what is the date exactly when you're will be wanting to give. Nobody is saying you book right now on that date. You have to just book in, I think, a week advance. So you don't have to book right now, but you have to set that date as a target. Whether you write it in front of your just put it on a sticky note in your study table somewhere, you just write that date down, that okay, I have to work towards as if my exam is on that day. So your step one needs to be that you need to complete the entire syllabus. There is no cherry picking in ACCA exam. You cannot decide this is going to come, this does not seem important, so I will leave it. You and I have not set the question paper, so we cannot decide what is going to come, what is not going to come. Everything and anything is important, and anything and everything can come. The syllabus is designed in such a way that they have only kept relevant topics, so anything can pop up. So it is your responsibility that you are completing the entire syllabus. We have given you the sessions, we have given you the entire syllabus which are molded into these sessions. So all you have to do is just complete that entire syllabus. Then what you need to do is step 2, which is you need to practice a lot of questions. Just because this is a theory exam, do not do the mistake of not practicing. What happens usually, it seems students only practice practical exams and they do not practice theory exams, and that's why many students fail to clear their theory exams, even though some people find theory easier. But still this happens because they are not practicing enough. Even if it's a theory exam, you need to practice questions, because studying a concept is different and questions are in a different form. And when you practice question, only then you will learn about your time management, or how fast or slow are you. So it is very, very important that you practice questions. If you're done with questions, practice again and again. There is no such thing as too much of practice. You can practice as much as you want and it will still be not enough. Let me tell you that. And this is not just for this exam, every other ACC exam. So practicing is important. When you think that, okay, I have done a lot, don't stop there. You still have to push yourself and do more and more. Then the next step should be that the revision bootcamp that we have provided you, the revision session, you should watch that at least 2 times. Revision session is basically all of the sessions that we have done. So we have made a revision session specifically in which all of those sessions, all of the relevant topics have been again revised, and rather than going to individual videos just before the exam, we have given this revision session so that just before the exam, you can watch that. All your concepts will be once again revised. So that's a very good thing which is being provided. So you should make the most of it. So revise, and at least 2 times. Of course, it will be great if you watch more than 2 times, but this is the minimum that you should be watching that revision session. And the video question marathon that we provide, that also you should watch at least 2 times. So you have your section A, section B in the video question marathon. Both of them you need to watch at least twice, and not just watching. Like I said, watching is never enough. If you look at a question, you will see that, okay, ma'am has solved it. Okay, I'm also understanding it. It's good enough. But you have to do it again. Many students, they watch video question marathon once, then they watch revision session, and then video question marathon, whatever questions are there, they practice it on their own before they again watch it, which is a very good thing to do. So you should try to solve everything on your own before. Just by looking at it, we always feel that, okay, I'm understanding everything is going great. But until you pick up the pen and solve it, then only you'll realize how much time you're taking, what are the difficulties you are facing. Do a mock exam. Students who do not give a mock exam, their chances of clearing become very lower to those students who actually give mock exams. And not only giving a mock exam is important, but giving in those exact exam conditions. You need to lock yourself in a room. You need to set out the timer for 2 hours and then solve the exam question paper. And then when 2 hours have passed, if you are able to solve everything in those 2 hours, then great, that means you're doing good. But if you're not, then you need to stop at that point and see that in 2 hours, how much you were able to solve. And then you can, of course, continue to finish the entire mock exam just to see whether you are able to solve other questions or not. But you need to understand at that point that where are you lacking, why you were taking so much time, whether it was not able to concentrate or whether you are a slow reader, whatever it is. So that's why giving a mock exam in those conditions is very, very important. You should not be having your phones or anything around you to distract you. When you're giving an exam, give it as if you are actually giving an exam. And step 7 is, of course, attending your exam. Book your exam when you feel that, yes, now I'm fully prepared. I have done my revision. I have done my mock exams. I have done enough questions. I have studied all the concepts. I am confident. Then, of course, book your exams and give your exams. These are CB exams, instant results you will get. So you'll get to know then and there only how you have performed. If by chance you do not clear the exam, which might happen, right? It's not like that there's a 100% success rate. Some students might not clear. It's absolutely fine. One should not feel disheartened. You need to understand what exactly went wrong and then improve on that and try to give your second attempt so that you at least clear in your second attempt. And of course, if you prepare and study and you focus a lot in your very first attempt, then of course the chances of you clearing in your first attempt will be higher. So why go to the second attempt? Before that only, in your first attempt only, I'll say put in your, literally blood and sweat and work hard in that only so that you don't have to go for a second attempt. It's not too difficult, this subject. Like I said, most of the concepts you have already would have studied in your commerce 11th and 12th, in your business studies, economics. Few concepts are new, but nothing too difficult. Everything is pretty straightforward. You don't have to learn a lot of things. You don't have to remember a lot of things. Just few things here and there, few names probably of the theorists and all of that, but nothing too much in detail. So it is fairly simple. If you practice enough, do your mock exams, manage your time, do a proper time management, you should be able to clear the exam. Another important thing, like I said, before you start your journey, you decide, right, 6 weeks from now, 7 weeks from now, Not only that you decide that date, you then need to also make a plan. FinTram provides you with a 6-week study plan, wherein we tell each weekday what chapter you could probably cover of the various session. So you could either follow that, or you could make your own planner. That's also absolutely fine. Nobody is stopping you to do that. Whether you do it in 5 weeks, 7 weeks, depending on your other commitments, that's fine. But make a plan. Whether you study in morning or you like to study in night, that's absolutely fine. There's no rule that one should get up early and study in the morning. Some people like to study late at night, and that's fine. So it depends. Whatever you prefer, you should do that. Whatever you feel you will be able to give in more concentration, follow that. But at least decide that every day I'll study this many hours, or I'll cover this many questions, or I'll do this much of a chapter, or I'll watch this many videos. At least every day set out a target. Even if you have other commitments like college or any other thing, every day you need to set out some time for your subject, or BT subject also. Apart from that, the weekends are usually freer. So in weekends, you need to increase those hours. Initially, it's going to be a problem probably, but gradually, once you start doing it, it's not going to be too much of a problem. And you just have to keep this in mind. If I put in a lot of, hard work now, then I don't have to go for a second attempt. So might as well put in that hard work at this point. I know it can be difficult. I have also gone through the same. I have given all my ACCA papers. Today, I'm a qualified ACCA member. But when I used to also study, I remember studying late nights till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and it used to get exhausting. Of course, there will be a point in time. This is just the starting. The middle, you will probably reach a point when you are exhausted, but you have to go through it. It's all, at the end of it, that once you are done with it, then you don't have to worry about all of this. Then all of this just seems like that, oh, okay, I used to study so much, or, I've done so much of hard work. So you put in the hard work now, because later you can reap the benefits. So just make sure you have a plan in place, whatever you prefer, morning, night, afternoon, but you should decide that these many hours, definitely I'm going to dedicate, I'm going to study for these many hours every day. And when you are reaching closer to the date, you need to judge that whether you are able to, complete everything, and then should you be giving the exam on that date. Maybe you will be moving it around few days here and there, absolutely fine, but at least you had a target. If you do not keep a target, you will be just keep moving the date, and you will probably never fix a date to give that exam. So thank you so much for listening. I'll stop sharing my screen now. In case you have any concerns, you can get in touch, of course, with the FinTram global team. This is the number and this is the website. So definitely you can get in touch with the team. They'll be more than happy to help you. If you have any questions or concerns right now, you can ask me. There's one question by Sanchit. Ma'am, how many hours you studied on average? So when I was giving my ACCA exams, I was also working in my skill levels, and then I had quit my job. Then I had given few papers, and then again I started working, and few papers were there. So my work was for 8 to 9 hours. I used to be in office. So obviously on weekdays, it used to be difficult, but still after such a busy schedule also, I used to give at least 2 hours daily. And on weekends, so there were no hours, like full weekend I used to study. Maybe probably in the evening, 1 or 2 hours, I'll go out with my friends for something. That to one day, either Saturday or Sunday, and that to not every weekend. But other than that, I used to study a lot. And when I had quit my job and I was just focusing on ACCA because I just wanted to clear a few exams and then probably take up a job, I remember studying, and at that time I was in skill and professional level, like last skill paper and professional level exams. I used to even study 8 to 9 hours a day. I know it will sound some people it might be less, for some people it be more. I used to even study more than 8-9 hours also. Sometimes I remember studying 12 to 13 hours a day also. And the trick is that you need to see whatever subject you have chosen to give on an attempt and you're studying. So my goal was always that I want to clear in the first attempt so that I don't have to go through it again. I have cleared all my papers in first attempt except for one exam, because in that attempt I was giving 3 exams. So one I didn't clear in first attempt. So it depends, right? Starting, they always say that you should start with one by one paper, like in one attempt, give one exam only. And then if you do not have much commitments, probably you can give two also. But it's always, advised that, go at a pace which you can manage. So it really depends on person to person. Of course, you can take breaks in between when you're studying, whatever you like, watching a series in between here and there. But you need to have a plan that by the end of the day, you should feel that, yes, my day was productive and I have studied enough. All right, there's another question. Ma'am, if I have to apply for the exam, then how many days before I have to apply for it? Or how many days before the exam, I have to message FinTram members? So, Krish, I'm not sure if you have already enrolled with us. For booking your exam, I think one has to do it a week before. So you just have to go to the ACCA website, and let's say you're giving BT. So you say booking BT exam, you go, you select a date. There are various time zones which will be there, and then you just select that and you can then give the exam on that day. But I think it's a week before you have to do. This is of course for just your 3 knowledge level, and first, that is law paper of skill level. After that, there are session based exam of ACCA. That is ACCA conducts their exams in March sitting, June, September and December sitting, usually the first week of these months, when the dates ACCA only provides that, okay, this particular date you will have your performance management paper, this date you will have audit paper. So you have to go through that, and that the last cutoff date is always mentioned on the ACCA website. Probably, I think a month before you have to, like for September, last date will be probably August to book those exams, something like that. All this information is there on the ACCA website, and you can reach out, of course, to the team also. They'll be happy to help. Any other queries, concerns, questions anybody has? So have any of you enrolled already, or you are still in college or deciding? All right, already enrolled. All right, so those who have already enrolled, make sure you are, keeping it in mind that you are picking out a date for yourself, whichever you feel you won't have much commitments, and then you work towards it. You start studying from now on and try to give as many hours you can. It obviously depends on what you're doing. If you're studying, let's say in college, you probably have a college exam. If you're in school, probably you have your school assignments or exam. So when you have those exams, don't give that time, but before that or after that. So like Sanchit, you are in 11th grade, you have already enrolled. Great that you have already started ACCA, good. So, probably just pick out a date when you don't have any other exams of your school and just start studying and make a plan, whether it's 6 weeks, 5 weeks. And whatever you're studying here, something that when you're in 11, 12 business studies also, you'll be able to, tackle that also better. So it will be great for you. Any other questions, anyone? All right. Should I go for 2 papers at a time and target to give the exam after like 2 or 3 months, or should I go one by one exam? By the way, I'm doing job and will get time on mostly weekends. All right, Yash. And you are at knowledge level only, right? So I will say you can start studying for 2 papers simultaneously, but give a gap because this is an on-demand exam. So let's say if you're doing BT and FA, for example, so you start studying both and you decide, okay, I'll give BT first. You give BT, maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, if you feel you are able to complete the other syllabus also of the subject, you can give the other exam also. See, it actually depends on person to person, but in the beginning it's always suggested that you go one by one, so that once you clear a few exams, you also get that confidence that, okay, I can do this. So maybe in the beginning, maybe go one by one, and then you can probably start clubbing, because any which ways you are working, so you will not have a lot of time on the weekdays, I'm assuming, and only on weekends. So probably target one exam first and see how that goes, and then probably you can club. Which paper do you recommend to give exam first for level 1? So honestly, it doesn't really matter. These papers are not really connected as such. You could give BT first, you could give financial accounting first. ACCA also, that's why has given this flexibility. You could start with BT. It is a fairly simple exam if you like theory, but if you like more practical, then maybe you could start with FA, because FA has both your practical and theoretical aspect. FA is basically your financial accounting, your balance sheet, P&L, double entry system, all of that. So if you prefer practical, you think you'll be more confident in that, maybe go with that. If you prefer theory, you could start either with BT or MA. That really doesn't matter so much at this level as such, because it's not really connected too much. That one paper is not really dependent on any other. So you could start with anything depending on whether you prefer theory more or practical, because whenever you clear the first paper, it really gives you that confidence. So if you prefer theory, maybe BTMA. If you like more of practical, maybe you go with FA. Anything else? Anyone has any questions? No worries, Yash. Welcome. Okay, anything else, guys? I'll wait for 2 more minutes, otherwise I will end if nobody has any questions. All right, so if nobody has any questions, then thank you so much for joining in. I hope this session was helpful, and just make a plan and don't stress too much about your exams. One should remain calm at the end of the day, and you can definitely do it if you are completing entire syllabus, practicing, doing your mock exams. Then there is nothing that should be stopping you. Just you have to give your focus and 100% whenever you're studying. When you're studying, don't think about anything else. When you're doing something else, whether it's your work, college, or having fun, then just do that. So try to have a balance, and then you should be able to do it. So thank you all for joining in, and I will be seeing you all soon. We will be having live interaction sessions in the future also. So I'll see you there. So thank you so much for joining in. I will be now ending this session. Thank you.